Music news to start with, ladies. Freddie Mercury's ex, Mary Austin, has sold possessions she inherited from the Queen frontman. But in a twist, Freddie's sister, Kashmira, secretly bought back the singer's jacket, lyrics to Killer Queen, his jukebox and lamp, among other items, because she was said to be angry and upset that they were being auctioned off. So, is it OK to sell something you inherit, Mylene? I'm going to start with you.
Oh. As someone who has lots of hearsay memorabilia, I have none, actually. I would like my belt back. But it's just... Look, I can understand there might be a situation where she needs the money and you won't necessarily know someone's circumstances, and Freddie obviously gave those things to her for a reason. I think because there's so much sentimentality attached to that. I'd love the lyrics to Killer Queen written by his very own hand. But at the end of the day, you can almost burden loved ones by giving them stuff. You can't take it with you. You know, I had a hoarder of an uncle who had so much stuff, and I remember going to his house thinking, what are we going to do with all of this? And they're just earthly belongings, and I think that we put so much guilt and attach so much emotion to those items. There has to come a point where you just say, it's not my stuff anymore. But I would like the lyrics to Killer Queen.
I think it depends, doesn't it? I mean, if somebody said to me, look, I've had this bracelet that I'd love you to have and I always wore it, I think that's different. But if you're handing them loads of stuff, like you say, it is really difficult. You know, I've kind of gone through it a bit with my sister because we're sorting out all her stuff, and she was very much a hoarder, if you like, of everything we've ever done in our lives. You know, she's got costumes from back in the day. She's got just everything, you know, tour passes, everything, jewellery. And it is kind of like that guilt of, I don't... This sounds awful, but I'm like, I don't want all this.
Where am I going to put it?
Where am I going to put it? Yeah. You know? And I've taken a couple of things that are personal to me, like a picture of her and my sister Bernie, but that's enough for me. She's always in here. I don't need to look at her stuff.
Yeah, his stuff's different because his could go to a museum, but in general, there's so many things that people say, you can't get rid of that, that's Granny's. You're like, there's so much.
I know, but I'm not being funny, no disrespect. He's not John from down the road, is it?
His stuff could go to the museum.
It's Freddie Mercury. I mean, like... listen, do you know... At first, I was a bit like, oh, you know, I understand the money. But the legendary, the stuff, and I think there's a sentimental value, and obviously there's a pricey value, that's why maybe she's selling it. But the fact that, let's get into the real juice, she didn't tell the sister.
No, I think that's what's wrong. She should have asked the sister, but then the sister might have said, yes, I want it, but she might have been getting rid of it because she needs the money, and it's a lot of money. That's
OK, that's understandable. We don't know their conversation that they had before you passed away, but this is someone that has broken records, that has been in many of our lives when we think about the music industry and so on. And I think there's certain things that should be protected. There's certain things that you might say, OK, I'll sell that for a bit of money, but I think it's about who the person is who's been left to. Exactly! Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think we'd be less angry if it was a family member in the sense of a sister or a brother, but because it's an ex-lover or a lover and then you've sold it without telling the family,
Yeah, it's a tricky one. My problem is I am a huge hoarder. I can't help myself. I hold on to everything. I go, oh, I remember when you bought me this, and I remember where I was when I wore that dress, and I remember my nan, or you know, and I'm terrible. Up in the loft, Rod always says to me, get rid of that stuff. But it's not just stuff to me. And, of course, Rod's things, God forbid, you know, like... I mean, I always think that, you know, like Elvis, you know, Rod's going to have to last forever, a lifetime. He's a part of our history that people need to remember. So there's lots of things that I would definitely keep, and I'm sure the family would want to pass down.
Would you have a conversation with him? Would there be things that he would say to you?
Don't touch the trains.
Yeah.
No, I mean, his railway layout he's worked on for 30 years will be a museum piece for sure.
Wow.
So that's not going anywhere.
You can't touch that. That is incredible.
No.
You can't touch that. That's incredible. But there are certain things that, you know, certain things that you've held on to that you go, oh, yeah, but my granny bought me this, or my great Auntie Mabel. You do know that when you're gone, that's going in a skip.
Probably.
Oh, my God.
Or maybe they could just downsize it to, like, a trunk and they'll just keep that in the loft.
But what would you want them to do with it? Like, I think about my own kids. I think about things I think are really precious, but they don't have the attachment to it. So to them,
I don't know.
it's the guilt.
I love watching those programmes, the Antique Roadshow, and people touching those tactile objects from the past. You know, whether it was a book or a medal or something that you can attach the history and the story that reminds you of your
No,
past.
I love that.
You know,
I
all
like
that.
the antique stuff, and I love when people go, "Oh, this is from such and such," and I go, "Oh God, that's amazing." Anyway, are we going to watch?
But it's for me, it's the legacy. There's a
You're dead.
But sometimes there's parts in your career or life
be dead.
that has a real moment, a significant moment, whether in your career, whether in your love, your marriage, and you want to keep it. For me, one of my items is like my yellow dress that I wore to the BAFTAs. Yeah, it's a really significant. Thank you. I mean, I stopped traffic. And that is going to be framed, and my children will. That you better keep that, kids. Okay, that because for me, it's not just about I loved it, I felt confident. It was the BAFTAs. I'm the first from my family to attend the BAFTAs. I want my grandchildren to see and feel and know what I had to do. Yes, where I had to go for you to live off the greatness.
To put
listen.
Curtains with it.
Yeah, and I done business. My mum, she got married and she had a dress, and you know that dress, bits of the material has been passed down to the other women in the family.
What about a little clipping of it and give it to them?
No, you're taking the whole dress.
If someone in your family was on Strictly, they could maybe turn that into an outfit.
Exactly. If it's like that, you could take a piece of that material and use it. It's about the legacy, and I don't think we should lose
Babe, that's going to be one hell of a skip. Anyway.